I'm Susan Guthrie from PermanentWeightLossAfter40.com. Today I would like to show you a very simple way of cooking kale. I get asked all the time, so you really eat kale? How do you cook it? How do you make it taste good? So what I'm showing you today is I've gotten one bunch of dinosaur kale. And I want you to try that one first. It's not quite as bitter as all the curly kale and the other types of kale that are on the market. It's still just as nutritious and it's nice and green. And you just take it, and the first thing you want to do with kale is most time just look and see. Most of them, even the organic kinds, they're not dirty because they grow up above the ground, and so you don't want to get them soaked in water because they're going to splatter when you cook them. So the most important part to learn about kale is you want to strip the stems off of the leaves. Don't cook the stems. You can save those to add to your soups and stews. Just chop them up and you can add them to your soup and stew. You're getting the nutrition out of them, but then they're cooking down because they're the more bitter part of the kale. So what you want to do is just take the stem and the leaf and just strip the stem out of the leaf like this. You do this with all your stems. So we're going to take that. And sometimes you'll see the kale leaves will be a little, not quite as dark green as the others, but they're still good. So I have my kale ready to go. So in the meantime, I'm going to leave that sitting here ready to go. Then I have already chopped about a half of an onion. You can use yellow onion, purple onion, any kind of onion that you have on hand, and just go and chop it up. Because the one thing about cooking with these greens, introducing them to your family, don't serve them to them bland. Add some seasoning to them, make them taste good. So what we're going to use today is avocado oil because it handles the heat. So we're going to turn our burner on just to a medium high heat, and I just take the avocado oil and add some in the pan, and we'll heat that up. So as our oil gets hot, we'll saute our onions until they're tender. And while our onions are sauteing, I'll tell you I'm using avocado oil because it is a high heat cooking oil. We want to stay away from all of our hydrogenated oils and vegetable oils. Avocado oil is one of the oils that is really good for us. It's a good fat. It's a saturated fat that has the medium chain fatty acids in it. So it's really an excellent oil to use, and it has a high smoke point. So many of the other oils turn into trans fats when they get into high heat. So with our olive oils, you don't want to use much more than a 350 degree heat point on those. So we're using avocado oil today. You can also use bacon fat or lard if you know the source of the lard. So it's very important for the animal-based fats that you know their source, so you know that what it's carrying in those fats. So while our onions are sauteing, getting down to where they're tender, we're going to go ahead and chop our kale because we don't want to leave it in these great big pieces. So just take your knife and run it through one direction. And it helps if you have a good sharp knife to do this. And then take your kale, and run it through another direction. Then you don't end up with these great big long pieces. So you know your onions are ready when they're nice, almost translucent. We're not caramelizing them, we're just making that, we just want to soften them to where they're crisp tender. And so once they're crisp tender, just kind of test them with your spatula or a fork. Then we're going to add our kale. And just take it and slide it down into your pan. I have just used one bunch, and one bunch of kale will only serve about 3 people. If you've got a family of 4 or 5, you probably need to just plan on preparing 2 bunches of kale, and it'll fill your pan completely, and then it'll cook down. So as we add the kale, we're going to just toss it in the onion and oil and let it get down to the heat. And we're going to turn our heat down to about medium-high because we want to get that avocado oil all over all the kale. So you just mix it together. And you can see how bright green it's getting, how pretty it is. And you really only cook your kale about 2 or 3 minutes. It doesn't take long to cook it down. So once it's all coated with the oil, I like to take it and put the lid on it just for about a minute, and it steams it down. While it's steaming down, I'm going to take 2 cloves of garlic. Just pop them off your head of garlic. And then I have a nifty garlic press that I use that'll pop. You can put them, you put them in the garlic press and then put it together like this, and you're just squeeze it down. You don't have to take the skin off the garlic clove because it will come off in the press. That way you don't have to chop the garlic. And garlic also you want to add at the end of your cooking because you do not want to overcook the garlic. It has a tendency to become bitter if it gets too much heat for too long. So let's check the kale. That's looking just about right. So now what we're going to do is press our garlic in. Remember, we want to add some flavor. If we want our family to eat them, we have to make them taste good. So you work them into eating it without any seasoning on it. I don't know. I really like it with the seasoning. So and now see how it's so nice and bright green. Now we're just going to take some balsamic vinegar. Adds a great flavor to it. We're just going to add a splash or 2 of balsamic vinegar. Mix that together. Then some sea salt. Just a few twists of your salt shaker. And now we have a beautiful side dish of kale that's great served alongside any fish, steak, protein, chicken. It's great to have to serve as a side dish and very good for you. So enjoy. And here is our finished kale. Beautiful green, lots of flavor, so tasty. My family loves it. Well, they all ask for kale. They would rather have kale than spinach. Hard to believe, really. Thank you for joining me. Again, I'm Susan Guthrie with PermanentWeightLossAfter40.com.